Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today we're discussing Augmentation Evoker, the good, the bad, the great, and the impact that it's had on the game in 6 days of play, really. Before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It goes such a long way towards helping out the channel. There is a Patreon link down below. I cannot do this with the love and support of people like you. There's exclusive access stuff, early access stuff, coaching stuff. There's lots of stuff to be had there. Go ahead, check that out. There is a Twitch link, a Discord link, and a merch link all down below as well. Go on by, check those out, and let's have some fun. Alright, so Augmentation Evoker, like I said, has been released for like 6 days. It came out July 11th. 7 days, depending on your sleep schedule, as of recording this, of course. And it's not very difficult to see the impact, some of the impact it's had on the game, right? We already have videos of people doing insane damage with a multiple Augmentation Evoker stacking. You look at the top of the Raider IO leaderboards, and it is jam-packed with every group having one augmentation in there, and now you kind of have to scroll down and really go to the next pages to be able to find a group that doesn't have one. Now, I full-heartedly believe that if this, and the only way to prove this, by the way, is going into a parallel universe and finding a timeline that augmentation wasn't released. But I honestly believe that without the release of Augmentation Evoker this week, new high keys would have been pushed by pretty much all the top key pushers anyway, just because Fortified, Spiteful, Volcanic is an insanely good push week. It's really good on the calendar, and the upcoming weeks aren't as good. We're getting Bolstering, Afflicted, Incorporeal, Raging. We're getting all of that back. So, yeah. So I actually think a lot of new keys would have been pushed this week, but the dominant thing in that is how many of them have Augmentation Evoker. And I've seen a lot of people talk about, oh man, they're busted, the damage, and and yeah, the damage. But this season hasn't really been about damage. There are plenty of specs out there that do insanely good damage. And really, before Augmentation, the groups were well varietied. You saw lots of different colorful stuff. At the top end, yeah, it tended to be a little bit more dominant on some colors, but there was a little bit more variety. But now we've introduced Augmentation for a week, and immediately we found a few colors, a few specs, a few classes that immediately engage insanely well with Augmentation to really do some absolutely crazy damage. But this is also just the first week. Not everything's been tested yet. Not everything's been discovered yet. Not everything is gelled right yet. But tanks are tankier. Blistering Scales, adding all of that extra primary stat to them as well, because most tanks gain some sort of extra tankiness with primary stat as well. So having that big chunk, 15% of their stat given to you the entire time, is really strong, and not just on the damage front. And then we have that addition to the healers. They get, through Font of Magic, a 3% increase to damage and healing, and then another 15% of the Augment Evoker's primary stat added onto them, as well as all of the other bonuses that Augmentation Evoker can do. Everyone's getting tankier, everyone's able to heal more, and in all honesty, in the 20 bracket, which I've been just in all week, not having a problem, really feels like they were like 17s last season. Like last week, not last season. Like really just, everything feels a lot better, which brings to mind, was the 40%, because at the beginning of the season we had the 40% increase to damage and increase to damage taken, and our health got increased by 40%. Did that maybe go a little bit too far? Because Augmentation seems to just have taken that nerf to us and really softened that blow. Maybe the 40% was just a little bit too much, but if you start reverting that, how cracked out is Augmentation going to start being? And right now, we have a singular lens. It's a microscope on this one spec and what it can and cannot do, and a lot of finger wagging and a lot of stuff at it. And I don't want to blame Augmentation Evoker for a lot of this. I think it suddenly highlighted a problem that's been in Mythic Plus, and it has the Band-Aid for it. right? That's the thing. There's two sides to this coin, where it definitely showed what can happen in Mythic Plus when the tanks feel tankier, the healers can heal more and can just do way more raw damage output and raw healing output with a lot more ease, and how much more the DPS can just blast, which I think is kind of a sub-focus of this. I know a lot of people are seeing the incredibly high overalls of what Augmentation Evoker can do, and while it is an all-around general damage increase to have two insanely good players and an Augmentation Evoker, I don't think that increase is absolutely insane. Like, I don't want to say, like, from just having the three top damage dealing classes played by some of the best people in the world to having someone swap to an Augment Evoker, I think there is a damage increase there, like, mathematically, that's kind of true, but I don't think the gap is as wide as people think it is. I don't think, like, the top Fire Mage in the world was dealing X amount of damage at, 60% of what was capable at an Augment Evoker, and suddenly they're at 120%. You get what I'm saying there? Those are quick, kind of just throw out numbers, but I'm trying to explain that I don't think there's that big of a gap. But when you have the tanks dealing a lot more damage, feeling a lot more tankier, you have the healers just being able to pump out heals with ease and have very little mana issues, because there's a lot of the mana bonus that you get from evokers as well. That got reworked, and that's not just an Augment Evoker thing, by the way. Source of Magic with Potent Mana is in the class tree for Evokers, so that is an every Evoker thing. Devastation and Preservation bring that as well, although I don't know if Preservation can use that on themselves in keys. That's something I'd have to check out, but that's something to discuss later, not part of this video. Right, so we immediately see that impact. Bam. But right now we have a microphone, we have a microscope on it, and I don't think this spec is bad for the game. Okay, let me put this into words properly. I just woke up, I have coffee next to me. I don't think this spec is bad for the game. I think this spec is incredibly good for the game. But I think some things need to change to be able to fully accommodate not a support spec, but what I hope to be many. That's right, I hope Blizzard keeps going on with this. I hope Blizzard adds more to this. Now, there are different things where the Holy Trinity of having tank healer and 3 DPS, 5-man content with enough support specs added in could be, tank healer, 2 DPS, and 1 support. You could swap over to 6-man content, which that would be a whole new thing. That'd be a little bit too much of a shakeup, I think. But I really hope that Blizzard sees this as a success, even with all the people that don't understand it. I know in lower keys, people only look at damage meters and be like, Augmentation Evoker? Like, why are you so low on the damage? But they're suddenly dealing like 160k overall when they've never dealt over 90 in their life, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just me now. Like, are you out of your fucking brain, dude? Look at what's happening. Something different is happening. You did not suddenly start doing an extra 30, 40k than you've ever done in your life overnight, okay? That's not how that works. You have a support spec that is buffing you. Like, that, that's just a facepalm moment, and I've seen it happen a couple of times. And I've also talked to Augment Evokers where that happened to them. Keys getting bricked because they say that they're carrying this Augment Evoker and they literally have no idea what's going on. And if you ever did that to someone, I hope you feel really stupid once you understand how augmentation works. I really do. I really hope that you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, I was pretty dumb. Yeah. Own up to that one. Just be accountable. To yourself. You don't have to go run and tell people, but be accountable to them and be like, yeah, I was pretty dumb. Well, next time they introduce a new spec, I might want to understand how it fucking works first before I fucking start shitting on people. But, I'll let that one go. But I really do hope that augmentation sticks around and has a place. And I don't think it needs to get nerfed. I think there are some things that need to get fixed with it. There is some exponential scaling issues that are completely broken in some hands. Absolutely. And that is a matter of tuning. That is a matter of having to redo some math. But to say that this launch was successful, yes. But to say that a successful launch wouldn't have kinks with this sort of spec being introduced into the game, I mean, come on. Really? We all knew there was going to be some kinks. We all knew there were going to be certain specs that were going to end up completely busted beyond belief with this. We all knew there was going to be some funny stuff that was going to happen, which is also why it got released on a 0.5 patch and not a new raid, new Mythic Plus season, whatever. Most of the prog has been done. Yes, there's still the title leaderboards to figure that out, but we all know what can happen when they do a full talent rework or whatever to a spec or class along the way. Look at Protection Paladin 10.1.7. There was nowhere near as many of them in the title range before 10.1.7. Then all of a sudden, the tank, Protection Paladin, Dominance kind of swept through after that. But that is, again, that's a whole point thing to happen, and things like that can happen all of the time. I'm really happy with how Augmentation has played out, and it's definite to see what sort of impact that a support class can have on the game, which I see as a net positive. Right? There's been really nothing bad. There's been some kinks, sure, absolutely. But there's also been some of the new highest keys ever being run. Tanks are feeling tankier, and I'm fucking happy about it. I have a run with an Augmentation Evoker on all 6 tanks this week, and on every single one of them, I fucking love it. I love having that spec in my group. It is fun. Healers are healing more and doing more damage and just generally being more awesome. Who doesn't want that? DPS specs, I mean, God, it is noticeable when there's an Augmentation Evoker in my group on my Affliction Lock or my Mage. I haven't been able to really play Devastation at all because everybody wants Augmentation, but it's also been the new fun thing, so I kind of understand there. But yeah, this is a win. This is a win. And I understand the concerns on how this is going to affect the meta at the highest end. I do. And there's going to be a weird learning curve. There's going to be a curve of adjustment, something we're all going to have to just get used to. And this can get better or worse depending on Blizzard. Right now, what we do with the spec in our hands, in our groups, in our boards, and our leadership communities, and our Bleeding Edge key running, and all of that, that is on us, sure. But to see the impact, to see how great of an impact one support spec has had on the game, you need more of them. Blizzard, if you leave Augmentation be the only support spec in the game, it's going to create a big problem. But if you create more of them, if you add 4th specs to a lot of classes that already have the opportunity, right? Right off the bat, I'm thinking Rogue. You could go mid-range, like a mid-range Rogue with like a Bard-like quality. Literally, you're roguishly, you just act roguishly. You're a rogue. You could easily do this. And kind of add a 4th spec to that. Warriors. You could shout commands at people and shout your buffs at people and be like, let's go, let's go, let's go! While you're just whacking away with a sword or whatever. There's so many different options on just the base class fantasy on being able to get this done. Why not? And I really hope it does happen. But I think if Augmentation Evoker remains the only support spec in the game for too long, I think it can start to damage group dynamics and how things occur. But I think they've hit a home run with support. I really do. But they need to make more of them. Those are my thoughts. That's the impact that I've seen on the game this week. Might make a follow-up video on this. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have yourself a good one.